How's it going, everyone? Welcome. Julio Gonzalez here, and today let's want to now explore about this last topic of the JSX. So, yesterday we looked at a basic React app, so as a way to understand how actually can we create now this user interface and what React at the end of the day is all about. So it create now this element, which is it's a thin layer of a DOM element that now allow you to compose all of these different uh, UI elements, aka or DOM elements, right? And pass now down data to each one of them. So anytime you want is to render a huge collections of user interfaces, or in other words, when you want to render now from small UIs like buttons, text box, cards, carousels, and then you want to compose bigger and bigger UI elements such as admin dashboard, websites, landing page, and then you can now take advantage of this atomic design. This is also a textbook from the one of the creators of Redux, I think it is, and another developer. I don't recall their name right now. I think this is Ryan, but in any case, the point here is that you now can create all of this small user interface that you can compose is this websites. So this is the part of the atomic design, a particular philosophy of designing these user interfaces, such as you start from the atoms, then from the molecules, and then from the organisms, and then you compose now pages, and then your website, right? So this is part of the thing that we basically look at this, and we have now the technical knowledge, and we can also replicate this from the scratch. Also the tooling, especially because if you want to build now this complex UI elements, so anytime you hit a complexity wall, you are going to appreciate why we need to have these particular tools instead of resent them. So once you understand what this tool does for you, what is the problem that it solves, then you will embrace the complexity. So for the tooling, we have is the prettier as a way to now have the same format of your code. The other is the ESLint to help us to fix most common JavaScript problems. So they're also known as we use now the model, the EXX model as a way to, hey, this is the current way of doing this particular configuration on ESLint. We also integrate is the non-controversial JS recommended rules, right? As well as the prettier. And the Git as a way to keep track of any file change that happen in our project, and therefore now have a snapshot or take the entire repo or take a snapshot of the entire repo, so then you can recreate that in another machines, whether it is on a developer machines or in a CI/CD pipeline or even in production, right? By following is a branching strategy. So I think this is quite interesting, quite powerful, because especially you can describe all of this, since this will help us to look at the next tool, which is Vite, as a way to now integrate is the build and the test pipeline into one single tool, right? Why do we need to do this? The TLDR is that because writing JavaScript, because JavaScript spec and browser implementation based on that varies across different browser vendors, right? and not all of them wants to take advantage or implement certain features. They have some internal political wars, or they're not so their incentives are not aligned as well in any ways. So the TLDR is that to cope or solve that, we have now things like a model bundler such as Webpack, where it allows us to apply some of these optimization techniques like commodification, like code splitting, minifications, and we have to do that because we don't have also is natively support of the models of, or in other words, the JavaScript models, right? So because of that, now we are, a lot of these browsers has finally catch up a little bit with the JavaScript spec, right? The ECMAScript 26, the ECMAScript 262, I think it is, right? Which is the specification of the language, right? Now we can now take advantage of this particularly techniques of or advancements in the ecosystem of JavaScript, such as the JavaScript models, all right, just to mention one of them. And then now we can create tools around that that help us now to solve now different problems, or to tackle two problems with one particular solution, which is the build and the test. Why is that? Because before that we have is now a particularly pipeline for the build step, or a particularly command that build the application, and then we have to rely on another particular command or a library, in this case Jest, to now test that our application worked the way as expected. But the TLDR of this is now we have this Vite that it takes the advantage of connecting all of these different models, all of these different JavaScript files, link them, and act like if they were, if you have them right now, if you have them there. As well as to provide some other features like hot mode reloading. So anytime you make a change in a particular file, the server spin up. It provides now a dev server as well, and it's using parcel and rollup as a way to now produce an optimized build for production. And for the testing, you now have this integrated tool which rely heavily on Jest, this predecessor of Vitess, right? But now you have them on one single package. So, despite all of that, right, which is important because especially if you need to explain that to somebody else, whether it's a new developer or somebody that you want to make the sales pitch, right? Whether if you are building your own application, you want to try to sell that idea, right? So yeah, this is the stuff that you want to do. Anyway, so what we're gonna look in today's video is just, for example, here in Vite, right? So there are other tools that, wait, what? There you got it. That there are other tools here, for example, such as Oxlint, right? That's right. So I just want to bring that out, just to check it out. Other tools, two other tools on the edge. Automation, yeah, just to check it out, tools on the edge like this, you know, It's like aux lint, which is written in Rust, and then you got it. And here we are. All right. Now, so we're gonna talk about is the JSX, right? So okay, so GSX, it it was something that was uh, it was something that was developed by React team to convince Hack, which is a flavor of PHP, to convince Hacks developers, which is a flavor of PHP, to use it. So it turns out that PHP developers find find it find it very um, appealing, okay, very convenient, very convenient to use it. Uh, and the rest is history, right? So now, so now it can be used or it can be used in Vue, for example, you know, and React, so on and so forth. It's okay. Into a DOM. Mm-hmm. Exactly, exactly. So GSX is a very is a very thin layer of JavaScript. Mm. 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 JSX. In JavaScript is a class name. Exactly. Mm-hmm. In this case, I'm going to create this function. What you're gonna get is the props, right? And here you're gonna say, hey, you know what? You're gonna return this JSX, which is this, and you say div. And here we're going to create now a div and h1. Okay. And an h1 where I want you to render this dot name and this paragraph here with the props dot description. Okay. So the idea of this is as you export this. So if I say export default and pixel, so what I'm going to do is say as the author of this particular code that you're not able to see, okay, but you will, right? So what I'm saying right now is to in contrast to compare this particular code, a way to create these elements on React. So you say now is this one, okay? So this is the mechanics of using JSX. And at the end of the day, what it's doing is transpiling that, or transpiling this into a HTML, right? That's what it's doing. That's what it's all about. This, right? So hey, I'm gonna transpile this into HTML, and then going to inject that on the root element in the index.html. So that makes so far so good, right? And so if I want to now import a component here, instead of using the pixel, let me comment that out here. Instead of using the pixel, I can say, hey, I want to import pixel here, and luckily for me, now the Visual Studio Code autocomplete that because it maps that particularly token or symbol, okay, that I export as pixel. And the difference between using this export default is because if this component is this is the proper component, so you're gonna use this. Otherwise, you're not. If it's not, if you have several components that you want to export here, you want to use now the not the default export and the several stuff that you want to export from that. And then once you consume that, you define this as this way. All right. All right. Good, good. So if I'm going to run this and say npm run def and navigate to the website, as you can see, now it's rendering all the proper way. So we wanted to configure is this. So this is now configuring is the linter here by adding is this ESLint plugin React here for this particular version. So we're adding is the plugin for the ESLint that help us to catch any, because remember what we have added here. We have added only the GS configuration recommended, but now we need to indicate is the React or Vue or any other framework that you might want to, or that you are developing your user interface, that you need to hold this set of that you want to check, that you want to avoid common gotchas when you are using those particular frameworks, right? So glad you asked, and because of that, all right, I want to say, hey, how can I now add this? This is configuration to the legacy ESLint source, but what we want to do is now on the settings in React. Okay, and there are several configurations that we need to add. or shareable config does not pre-configure files. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, rules. The reason why you put rules here and not one of these other two is otherwise it'll overwrite their rules configs. These new ESLint configurations are tricky, right? So anyway, the order becomes extremely important. So React has two really annoying default rules, and we're just going to turn them off because I don't want to deal with it. No unescaped entities. Yeah, it forces you to like do like weird, like it wants you to directly escape like hyphens and ampersands in your code. I don't want to do that. I want my tools to do that for me. So I turn that off always. And then React / prop types. I don't know why this one still exists. There used to be a thing called prop types that as soon as TypeScript became a thing, just instantly went away as being useful at all, but it's still the default that it's on. I don't get that here. So like, just to drive home, if you don't have this, you can't write single quotes inside of your strings. You have to write, what is it, and APOS, right? You have to write that instead of writing that. And after doing that like twice, I was like, yeah, this shit's for the birds. I'm not doing it. So that's over to that one. Okay, I think we can leave ESLint alone for a while now. Yeah, if you're wondering about flat, that's the new style of configuration for ESLint 9. These are flat configs, which is where that flat word comes from. Okay, let's go convert app.js now. So first thing, rename this file to app.jsx.
Mm-hmm. So you can analyze that.
Okay, we're going to delete the React import because we talked about that. Import pizza from pizza, we did that. And let's make this a bit more nice looking app. Okay, return div. Each one, we're going to call that Padre Gino's order now. Right, just do that normal so it doesn't highlight it.
Okay, to the files. So if I say now import so and if you go to this to your app, that's right, we're now here on the pixel. We got the pixel. We're going to rename this like this, right? So if we get now say, hey, npm run diff, it is a couple errors, might be because we haven't import pixel. Let me see where is the error coming from. It's a failed to scan dependency for entry app.serve in line 6. In line 6. Padre Gino's ordenado. And the JSX extension is not currently enabled. You are right. It's actually telling you the error in front of you. And now we change this and it will work as expected, right? There you got it. Oh, it might be on the index.html. That's right. So if we run this, it say, hey, I find some particular issue, failed to resolve the import. No problemo. That's right. So if we reload this, we don't have any errors, and then you got it. This is pretty cool how we transform this into that, right? So far so good. It's not that hard. You can take a look. We just add here the add everything here. Git commit, git status, say git commit with a message. The adding JSX, adding in this case add ESLint JSX. All right. An example and pixel component, right? There you got it. Once you push this, you say git push Papagino's origin JSX, then you got is this. So the next one is set up the API server. Mm-hmm. Mm. Mm-hmm. And a SQLized database, which is a file-based, interesting, a file-based database, which is great. Let me actually download that particular piece of code. All right. Okay. Oh, what if I want to download that piece? You know, the API section. If I say, hey, what if I want to download that? You know what I mean? Upload files, create files. No, I want to download it. Mm. Mm. So I think a better alternative is to clone this and then copy and paste that. Yep. That's right. This will be a better alternative because now I can take the API and then paste this stuff here. Yeah, I want to move it, and then I want to get rid of CRTR blah blah blah. Bam. There you go. Right. As you can see, the server fastified using this, and they define in several SQLites. Here picks a promise, and this one picks a size promise. Right, response pixels. Are you gonna respond to that? Select pixel type ID names. This is to get that. I think you must populate some of them. Size, get order, API order, select from join, pixels on join, where that's interesting how it routes that SQLite pretty straightforward. Server post, API order, making transaction. Interesting. It allows you to do some rollbacks here. That's great. That's great. And okay, API contact, API pass order, ready, And once you start, you don't populate that. Nothing. Okay. No problem. All right. As you wish. npm install. And if you say npm run dev, Okay, so if I navigate to this and then I say, hey, pixels. Oh, where's the route? API pixels. Okay, so if I say API pixels, there you get it. I already have all of it. All right, cool, cool. And raw data, errors. Okay, that works. Oh, this is for course. Setting up course. Mm-hmm. 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 Mm-mm-mm-mm-mm. This is to handle is course. Mm. Mm. Oh, it's proxy that. Okay. Hmm. But this is a. But this is for. So anytime that you detect those. Mm-hmm. And anytime you detect now an API, is going to redirect that. Mm-hmm. Exactly. The target can be anything. So here, what it does is to run the def, right? And then open up a new one, a new shell here, right now, and say npm run def. And so anytime that you want to navigate to the API, the pixels, right, it's going to forward that. It's going to proxy that. Without even leaving the so what it's doing is to forwarding or proxy that. Hey, if you detect now this endpoint, all right, if you detect this request, hey, I want you to now redirect that to this proxy, which is a cool feature. Ooh, a cool feature, bro. A cool feature, by the way. Oh my god, yeah, it is. So get status, right? And here you say get commit with a message, and that is at the setup API. Yeah, set up the API server and proxy with Vite, which is a cool stuff, by the way. Absolutely. Git push papados, padraginos to JSX. All right. So here we're going to look at we're going to look at ESLint for JSX. ESLint for JSX and API server. And proxy with Vite, which is a cool feature, by the way, in adding static assets. You know? Okay. Mm-hmm. All right. Hmm. Mm. To add all of this style from the moment. Mm. So now on the pixels. Exactly. So now on the pixels, what he did was just to add this pixel component here, right? And then say, okay, cool. It's going to add now the image to this. They're going to pass those registers from the parent. Mm-hmm. Then I pass those registers from the parent here. So now if I say npm run the def, and also I need to add is the on the index.html, we need to add is the URL, right? That is the link, and I want to fetch that from the public, I think it is, subpublic, or I think they're using is now a relative path for this. Exactly, public and the styles, that's right, it's not this current. It's using is the public style.css. So if I reload this, and then I go back to the website, right, and I say, hey, this one, there was an error, you're right, because I have that, I must add that to this, that'd be great. If I navigate to this, now I should be able to look at this, right? All of this image generated, ChatGPT image generated. Okay, like this, right? ChatGPT image generated. Mm-hmm. So, all right, good. So that'll be all for this video. Take care. Bye bye.